easy one. Find a friend, relative, child, grandchild, neighbor who's left the church, and ask them, why did you leave? And just listen and just really draw them out. As a friend of mine says, listen them into free speech. And then say, would there ever be anything that would bring you back? And just don't disagree with anything, just try to learn. I'll let them be your teacher.
Two things. One, Eddie Claude's piece of the Black Church did, and really dealing with what the Black Church is about, and how we have moved so far from what the established thought and movement within our. Number two, I think it was Christianity Today that talks about the grain of the church in general, where there are nothing but gray tops, and I'm one of those gray tops. And I think the failure that did have in our church is that we have far too many gray tops running the church. And if we could be a bit more inclusive of those who are 17, 15, 16 in the decision-making process and let their voice be heard, I think we would find a better place for all.
The one practice would be hospitality. But hospitality rightly understood. There's a sort of a thing going around in some mainline churches right now where people are putting up signs that say things like, we practice radical hospitality. And it's almost like it's becoming a marketing slogan without any sense of reality behind it. And that's not the kind of hospitality that I'm talking about here. I'm talking about understanding the full, biblical, powerful dimension of hospitality as it has existed through the Christian tradition. And I remember this one story that comes from the desert tradition. Sometimes, even when churches are truly hospitable, when someone comes to their door and they welcome them in, we still think about that as the movement of hospitality. That someone comes to us, we open our door, we're nice to them, we feed them, we take care of them. And so that's a form of hospitality, and that needs to happen. But there's a story from the ancient tradition about a traveler who was going through the desert, and as the traveler and his party were passing by a monastery, the monks saw the travelers, and the monks ran out of the monastery. And they were carrying water and honey and fresh linens. And it was, they literally grabbed the travelers off of the road and brought them into the monastery. And the traveler reports that never had he seen hospitality practiced with such zeal and alacrity. And that the monks ran out of the monastery like bees out of the hive. And I thought to myself, if only that were the kind of hospitality that we were talking about. It might terrify the people in your neighborhood, but if we could get Christian people to run out of their churches like bees out of the hive and cover passers-by with the water of God and feed them milk and honey, I don't think we'd be worried about church growth. I don't think we'd be having half of these discussions. And so hospitality, rightly understood in terms of the way the ancient tradition understood it as a deeply radical engagement of God's presence, welcoming all, wherever God is, not just into buildings that we happen to own.
Tell our speakers